The thing about the battle against food cravings is you can win the battle, but you never really win the war, or at least most people don't. The best advice that I could give you is that when it comes to food cravings, you have to stop fighting them and actually work with your body to go in a different direction, a direction that is more compatible with your food cravings. Allow me to explain. When it comes down to food cravings, there's only three key cravings that you have: sweet, salty, and crunchy. You think about the totality of junk food that people typically eat, they fall into those categories, right? So think about like something common like potato chips or cookies, crackers, things like this. What do they tend to be? Crunchy and salty, and sometimes even sweet. Think about pastries. Pastries fall into the sweet and salty category, sometimes more sweet than salty, and sometimes more salty than sweet. Sometimes maybe even crunchy or have crunchy elements to them, maybe like sprinkled crushed nuts of some kind, or cookies or crackers of some kind embedded into them. Even when it comes to things like pizza, right? Pizza is often crunchy, salty, maybe even a little sweetness added. And the crunchiness is more so geared towards things like the pizza crust itself. Once you think about this and you understand that these are the three cravings you have, then the next step with this information is that in your diet, you want to have a diet set up where it satiates these cravings. Therefore, you're not constantly battling against them. And here's why. Food cravings are basically just a way of your body letting you know what you need. And you get your worst food cravings in times of deep stress or a massive deficit in resources. So think about like, what are the food cravings that you typically have? And then think about if you had to rank your sleep quality on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the poorest and 5 being the best. If you actually think about when you get your worst food cravings and then you line that up with your sleep quality, you'll notice that the worse your sleep quality is, the stronger your cravings become. Because your body will use food or use the resources from food as a way to manage stress or bring the stress down, right? So an example of this would be, let's say if you satisfied your sweet tooth. When you satisfy your sweet tooth, it brings your anxiety down. It kind of picks your energy up while still giving a calming effect. And your sleep quality actually improves after you satiate your sweet tooth, often before you go to sleep. Now, if you really try to do your best to just avoid sugar at all costs, you want to be on a diet that is as low glycemic as possible, cutting out carbs and all of this type of stuff. This ramps up stress hormones that are produced from your adrenal glands, and this can give you real restlessness at night, really destroying your sleep quality as a result. It's things like that drive people to lose the war against food cravings and then capitulate, diving headfirst into binge eating. In terms of sugar, it's important to note that there's a hormone called serotonin. Now, serotonin is produced from an amino acid called tryptophan. Right? Now, that serotonin is released from the beta cells of your pancreas. So when you consume sugar, glucose, carbohydrates, that signals to your pancreas to not only release insulin, but also serotonin. And these two things together work to improve your mood, sleep quality, as well as energy levels by increasing glucose uptake into your cells. Right? Insulin essentially is another hormone that acts as a transportation mechanism to shuttle glucose into your cells to power the life cycle and the processes of your cells. That serotonin gives you the feeling of satisfaction, pleasure, relaxation, comfort, right? Peace, basically. Some food suggestions, if you wanted to satiate your sweet tooth, would be things like bananas, kiwis, and pineapples, for example. These are fruits that are actually rich in that tryptophan that your body uses to create serotonin. Aside from the sugar cravings, we've got salt cravings. And salt cravings are also usually combined with a craving for something crunchy, right? And you may have this real itch for something crunchy to the point where you have a habit of, let's say, chewing ice cubes, or maybe even chewing pen caps and things like this, right? And this is a sign of stress, high levels of anxiety, sleep deprivation, and dehydration, as well as electrolyte deficiency. Now, this can be a deficiency in magnesium, potassium, and sodium, or it can be at least two out of those things, right? The most common forms are the dehydration combined with a lack of potassium, and that is often undergirded by a lack of magnesium, right? So it's a sliding scale between these things, but there is some type of electrolyte deficiency there combined with dehydration. There's a few things that compound this and make this worse. It can be medications. Let's say antidepressant medications. Let's say you have a history of depression and anxiety and you've been taking medication for it. That can actually cause those issues to be worse, causing you to be more insulin resistant, right? And you can be taking, let's say, a blood pressure medication, which acts as a diuretic and causes frequent urination. So you could just be drinking a lot of water from having a constant feeling of a dry mouth, and insulin resistance or even type 2 diabetes makes this worse. So you engage in behaviors that cause you to just be frequently urinating and losing a lot of your electrolytes as a result, right? So all of these different lifestyle variables can compound and really dogpile on top of you, drive you into these cravings. So it's good to be aware of these things. You can implement salt into your diet in ways that are not so pathological. So for example, you can eat, let's say, dry roasted, salted cashews, pistachios, almonds, pumpkin seed kernels, and sunflower seed kernels, for example. And these are rich in omega-3, omega-6, essential fatty acids, zinc, magnesium, manganese, zinc, selenium, vitamin E, and that tryptophan that I mentioned earlier, just to name a few things. So these fatty foods could actually be really beneficial, but of course, eating them sparingly. You don't really want to binge eat them. So what I would advise is to actually prioritize the more water-rich, sweet fruits, right? Like those bananas and the pineapple and the kiwis that I mentioned earlier, as well as things like, let's say, cantaloupe or honeydew, watermelon, grapes, these types of things. The fruits are stress-reducing fruits, and so you can really eat them in abundance, and they'll give you an abundance of potassium, magnesium, water, copper, B vitamins, vitamin C, and a load of antioxidants, and all of these things work together to drive down the stress in your body. So you increase your tryptophan levels, thus increasing serotonin, and then causing you to be more insulin sensitive. And as you become more insulin sensitive, you satiate that sweet tooth and you drop your stress levels. This is where your food cravings start to go away, and you're satiating your cravings in much healthier ways. Then, of course, towards the end of the day is where you can have more of like your salty things, right? So you can have salads with sliced avocado, the nuts and seeds, and leafy greens and things of this nature. And of course, throw in some different herbs and seasonings as well and make a dressing, right? And you can have this high raw lifestyle where all of your foods are really good food choices and you're eating in abundance with no restrictions, right? And ultimately, you have to be well fed and you have to be well rested. And those two things combined is how you really overcome the battle against food cravings. But the thing is, In the pursuit of doing that, you're not avoiding satiating your food cravings. You're doing the opposite. You're actually willingly and consistently engaging in satiating your food cravings. And as a result, you reduce your food cravings. You find a lifestyle and a state of being that is more stable. I am a high raw vegan nutritionist and fitness coach specializing in gut health, chronic illness reversal, metabolic health, and improving and optimizing your overall state of well being. Hit the link in the description and book a call with me and follow me for more high raw vegan, plant based diet tips.